What's up, guys? teamknl here, Kai, giving you a deck profile today, and today we're going to be giving a deck profile of Hero Beat, or Miracle Gemini if you want to call it by the official Konami name. But pretty much heading into the September 1st format, thoughts about the deck is that pretty much it didn't change too much. Like, I mean, you lost a little consistency with Emergency Call, one Hero Lives, and one Duality, but the only one that really hurt was Duality, and that was only slightly. So, I mean, if you played more than 2 Emergency Calls, you were just asking for dead cards all day, or bad top decks and whatnot. And if you played a Hero Lives and you live in the OCG where they have busted rank 4s like Emerald, and so yeah, pretty much you didn't lose, the TCG didn't lose too much power, so that's not too bad. So, I mean, it's just the deck is still the same as ever. It's a little slower, but I mean, you're playing more defensive traps, so it's obviously you should be playing slower anyways because of that. So let's begin. First off, we have the basic monster lineup, the 1 Stratos and 3 Neos Elias. Pretty much standard monster lineup, Engine and Hero Beat. If you aren't running these, I don't think you're playing Hero Beat. So yeah, pretty standard monster lineup startup. So then we have 1 Photon Thrasher. Photon Thrasher, I was playing 2 of him before because I wanted that speed at the beginning of the format, but then I found out that it just ended up eating up more monster resources than it should be, because I'd end up converting him into Exceed plays, which I feel is the only reason you would play him to begin with. And yeah, he just wasn't working out too well. And also I draw him when I have like monsters on board already, so it wouldn't help too much. So just 1 is nice, at least for player preference. It works out fine for me. Then we have 2 Thunder King Ryo. If you aren't playing Thunder King Ryo, something's wrong in your head, or you just started playing when Injectors were around and Thunder King Ryo was a bad card. So pretty much, if you were that player, then just remember, any format that Injectors do not exist in, Thunder King Ryo is supreme god of the level 4s. So Thunder King Ryo, 2 of, very good. So for the other Gemini monsters, we have 1 Crusader of Endemind, 1 Evocator Chevalier, and 1 Gemini Lancer. Each for their respective attributes, light, fire, and water. He's only really useful for water, since he's only 1800, which isn't that strong. He doesn't butt head with Ryo or anything, so I mean, he's only really useful as a Gemini Spark target and for Absolute Zero. But I mean, I like him much better than Bubble Man, because Bubble Man has no synergy whatsoever with Gemini Spark. And the only synergy that he has is using up your hand resources in order to convert to field presence, which in some cases is okay, but not when you're sitting against a Ryo. Bubble Man is just useless against Ryo. And also, he only has synergy with Super Poly, which, if you are special summoning him with his effect, then you shouldn't be able to use Super Poly anyway. So, I mean, I just think Gemini Lancer is a more solid card if you want to play Absolute Zero or Snowman Eater, but Snowman Eater is far more defensive, but that's besides the point. Chevalier, when you need that Nova Master, and another light target for the Shining. Pretty much just more Gemini Spark targets, because if you open up with like a Spark and no Gemini monster, then that Spark is essentially dead. So I mean, I wanted to make sure that I had Spark live as often as possible to make my opponent always stay on his feet and commit minimal forces on the field, where I can just start then beating into his face with 19 beaters. So that's Gemini monsters. And 1 Silver Sentinel. I haven't actually resolved his effect yet, but that's because of the psychological game that I play with him. If you roto for him, then your opponent is really scared sometimes to pop your back row, because they don't know if they're going to destroy the Silver Sentinel or not. And if they destroy it, you better be winning the game that turn, or else pretty much Silver Sentinel just wrecks your face and you special summon, and I can make Blade Armor Ninja on you and then just start attacking and beating all your shit in. So I mean, that's the monster count. 11 monsters. Pretty standard outside of the Silver Sentinel, though he is starting to see a little bit of play in some hero variants. I'm just testing him out right now because I personally think he's a really, really cool card. One of my favorite cards from Return of the Duelist. So, for the spells, 1 Rhoda, 2 Emergency Call, and 2 Duality. Your standard spell searcher lineup now. If you aren't playing these, you are really, really bad at this game, or you're facing down a Thunder King round and you should pretty much almost scoop, but not really, because Thunder King Rao just stops you from searching your monsters. You can still draw them. So I mean, it's not that bad, but Thunder King Rao still does exist, so having 5 dead cards in hand is kind of bad, but you need them also because of how little monsters you play. And then triple Gemini Spark, easily one of the best cards of the deck. They add so much more destructive force to your Gemini monsters that it just keeps your opponent on your toes always. It increases consistency and destructive power in the deck, so I mean, you should be playing 3 of to maximize targets. Unless you play 2 of, in which case that would usually be a player preference, but in most cases you should be playing 3. And then triple Miracle Fusion. I'm surprised this card did not get hit at all because it's really, really busted. There's no cost to activate this card. You just slam it on the field and your opponent is like, which synchro monster or fusion monster is he going to summon? More often than not Shining, but I mean, sometimes you do get those occasions where you want to go Nova Master or Absolute Zero, but hey, sometimes it happens. But I mean, I'm surprised this card didn't even get hit to 2 at a minimum, because this card is really, really ridiculous. Amazing top deck for heroes. Unless your only hero in grave gets Crow, then it's a terrible top deck. But regardless, then 1 Super Poly. I only play 1 of because ideally you want to discard your Neo Elias because you can add them back to your hand with Hero Blast. However, whenever I play 2 or more Super Poly, I always open Super Poly with all spells and traps. No monsters, no targets for Super Poly and whatsoever. So it's always subpar for me. So 1 is just player preference. And also I don't even like Super Polying because it just feels like a huge nag for my monsters to get destroyed in the end. It's just the way it is. In the mirror matchup though, this card is godlike. But there are no real mirror matches at my local, so just 1 is fine. Then Staples, Book of Moon, Heavy Storm, Dark Hole, and Monster Reborn. Standard spells lineup you should be playing for the most part, unless you don't like Book of Moon, which I would agree with you. I only play Book because it's the only deck I really play Book in. So now for the traps. 1, 2, 3 Dimensional Prisons. Really good card. Helps protect your heroes and your Geminis from big monsters so that you don't have to waste your Gemini Spark on them. You can always use it for when they try to Dimensional Prison your monster. So you get the +1. So that's pretty much it. Triple Dimensional Prison and 1 Mirror Force. I still like Mirror Force as a essentially 4th Dimensional Prison. Pretty much, if I could, I'd play 5, but I do not have another Mirror Force, so I play 1 Compulse instead. I don't even like Compulse. Like, I think this card is garbage. Even if you use it on a Synchro or whatever, that's just situational. I don't like this card, but I like it better than Bottomless for some odd reason. I don't even draw Bottomless when I play it. So 1 Compulse. And again, this deck is hugely player preference, so don't go raging out on me because I hate Compulse. I don't draw Compulses at all, and I don't draw Bottomless Trap Holes at all either. So if you rage on me, you try playing this deck when you main double Bottomless and you don't draw it for like an entire regionals. So 2 Torrential, still really good card, one of my favorites in the deck, in the game in general, and 1 Starlight Road, and 2 Dark Bribe. I still like 2 Dark Bribe because it stops Solemn Warnings. They'll pay Solemn Warning for no reason, and they'll pay 2,000 life points, and then you just say, hey, why don't you just draw a card instead, and then I'll keep my Neo Elias. So it's always nice. I may start playing what's it called, 1 7 Tools instead of 1 Dark Bribe. I've been hearing about that card quite a bit, and I was actually thinking of testing it before I heard about it, but this is starting to be a trap heavy-ish format, so I mean, if you aren't playing something that can negate traps outside of Solemn Judgment, you might want to just consider even if just siding one Dark Bribe, or not Dark Bribe, 7 tools, but 2 Dark Bribe for now, until I get into testing, and then the Solemn Brigade. So, standard 40 card, for the most part, hero deck, hero beat. And then for the extra deck, we have for rank 4s, 1 Maya Stroke, 1 Excalibur, 1 Marrow Geese, 1 Blade Armor Ninja, 1 Utopia, and 1 Gemini Pearl. So, Maya Stroke is staple now. If you play rank 4s, you pretty much have to play Maya Stroke. He's just that good now. Excalibur, I like having a 4,000 wall on my side of the field, so that's good. Marrow Geese, against decks that like setting a lot, like Frog Monarchs and Frog Lancers, crap, and plants. You just Marrow Geese on them, and you just start telling them to hold that while you're punching their stuff back into the deck. Blade Armor Ninja, because you can OTK, well, not really OTK because I'm not playing 2, but because you can deal quite a bit of damage with a Blade Armor Ninja. Then Utopia is Utopia, and Pearl is Pearl for the extra power. So that's the rank 4s. Then 1 Stardust for the Starlight Road. And then for the fusions, 1 Great Tornado, 2 Shinings, 1 Nova Master, 1 Absolute Zero, 1 Escurry Dao, 1 Gaia, and 1 Chimera Tech Fortress. Pretty much standard hero lineup. You would actually play more heroes if you were maining more super polys or siding, but I don't think siding is necessary. Siding super polys is necessary, so I mean, that works fine for now. And Chimera Tech is just really good. Girgia, Karakuris, be on the lookout. So, 15 card extra deck. Then for the side, 2 Sidras, and 1 Thunder King Ryo. Sidra is really good, eats up those machines and Zen mains and whatnot. So, I mean, gets a lot of work done. 2 Smashing Ground, because I don't think Soul Taker is really necessary. Because, I mean, you already have a selective target destruction with, Gemini Spark. So, I mean, Smashing Ground is just for extra power, for destruction or whatever. 2 Prohibition, because I like stopping rogue matchups in their track, as well as it's just a really good side deck card, because if you don't know what you can side deck, you can always side deck Prohibition, especially if they have just 1 key card or whatever. You just Prohibition that key card, and you can literally win games off that. Then 2 MST for other decks that I don't like against, such as Dark World. You want to pop their gates, or the hero matchup, where you want to hit the super poly before they can activate it on your monsters. So then we have 2 Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. I dislike Dark World. I'd play 2 more Soul Drains if I could, but not enough side deck. 2 Skill Drain. I want to make room for this in the main board, but at the same time I don't want to, so it's just sided for now. It's okay. Like, the only thing it's great against is the game 1 wind-up matchup. And if you aren't going first and you don't open with this, then you basically lose game 1. So, I mean, I just slide that in for game 2, for whatever reason. And then 2 Hero Blasts. I don't like maining this card because I always draw it whenever I'm staring down a BLS or a Dark Arm. So, obviously, I'm not playing Neos, Elemental Hero Neos, and even then Neos wouldn't be able to destroy him. So, I mean, 1900 is just to beat in extra Ryos that get sided in, or against like decks that convert smaller monsters into bigger monsters, such as plants or rabbits or something like that. So, I mean, it's a good card, plus combined with Super Poly, it's pretty good. So 15 cards, side, So that's the main deck. That's the deck for Hero Beat. Tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. Like, rate, comment, subscribe, and Team KNL out.